What's up, guys? It's day 4 of the 7 days of training with Miranda. Technically, I'm filming this on Thursday, but I'm filming it for yesterday, which was Wednesday, May 7th, which was my rest day. And I threw up on my Instagram yesterday some questions. So since I didn't have a workout to show from that day because I rested, some questions that you guys have about training in general, about my training, things I can help you out with your training, doing it from the car, because that is the only place when you own a business and you have a family that people will leave you alone. You moms and maybe some of you dads know exactly what I'm talking about. So here to answer your questions for the rest day episode of 7 days of training with Miranda. Here we go. The most common question that I got, obviously, was how often do you rest, and how do you know when to rest? I know a lot of times, a lot of programs will have like a 3 on 1 off, or 6 on 1 off, or they'll have like scheduled like high intensity and low intensity days. All that stuff can be awesome. There's definitely some science behind a lot of those suggestions, where you can't just burn the candle at both ends and never rest. You've probably heard before that where we make our gains and where we improve is in our rest, which is absolutely true. And a lot of times people who work out 7 days a week, even 6 days a week, they don't ever actually go that hard in their workouts, because they're doing what I call jogging in their workouts, which is instead of just blasting intensity, they kind of just go through the motions, but they feel like they're going to get more out of it because they work out 7 days a week. You'll see that a lot with people who do super long sessions too, or multiple sessions in a day, where they could be getting more out of it if they actually just went hard for one, or did one workout instead of worked out for 2 hours. But they feel like more is better. So I do rest 1 or 2, more commonly 2 days a week. I don't have like a super specific plan for it though, because in reality, I know that something's going to come up that's going to probably force me to rest. So since January, actually my whole life, I don't even know why I say since January, we travel a lot. So I know that that's going to mess with my schedule a little bit. Maybe, I can get something little done in my hotel room or whatever. Or Knox might be sick, or yesterday I wasn't feeling super great, or something happens at work and it messes up my schedule. So I don't necessarily say I always rest on Wednesdays and Sundays, because that's just not realistic for most people to be that regimented about it. I have a general, I like to work out 3 days in a row and then take a rest day. That doesn't always happen. So if I'm feeling super duper wrecked, or if something comes up, that's when I rest. I know myself, and I like to work out those. So because I like to work out, I know that I'm not going to take more rest days than I need necessarily. If anything, I have to kind of talk myself into missing the workout sometimes. So you got to know yourself. If you're the type of person who hates working out, taking the approach of I'll take a rest day when I feel like I need one is probably not the best idea. So you got to be a little bit smarter with it than that. I don't think that people should be trying to hit intensity more than 3 days in a row. We have some really cool write-ups for the street parking members that we've done in the past, kind of trying to figure out how to gauge intensity and how many times a week you should be going at 100% versus maybe doing some workouts where you just hit it, but you don't start the clock, or you go lower on the weight, or you don't keep track of your score and stuff like that. Or just doing an accessory workout, or even just doing some stretching, yoga, we call it street parking maintenance, with what we do. But when I do rest, I rest for the most part completely, or maybe do some like yoga type stretching maintenance. Last night, what I did on my rest day was I stretched in Knox's room while he was falling asleep. I did not film it because that would have been really creepy, like putting my son to sleep and stretching and filming it. Also, if he sees my phone, he's gonna try to watch something on it. So, that's all I did yesterday was I stretched and did a ton of work, and tried to get to bed early because I've been feeling sick. Rest day once to 2 times a week. And sometimes it's more than that, but very rarely is it more than 2 times a week. All right, one of the questions that I got on Instagram was how much foam rolling or fascia work do you do before or after you work out? Honestly, not a lot. I do think there is benefit in rolling out, especially if you're super sore or tight. I just, in all reality, have a very limited window to work out. One thing that I will say is I do notice that I feel better when I'm consistent with my workouts. If I take like 2 or 3 days off in a row and I am not doing any sort of like stretching or maintenance or mobility, I definitely start to tighten up more. So movement does a lot for me when it comes to that stuff. When I was competing, I would roll out more. I was getting massages all the time, but right now it's just not realistic. If you've got time for it, great. But a lot of times people will use the excuse of, I don't have time to do the rolling and the stretching and the warming up and the strength portion and the workout and then the rolling and the stretching afterwards. And so they just don't work out at all. If that's preventing you from working out, I'm going to maybe go ahead and say that you just don't need to be doing as much of it as maybe you think you need to be doing. At least get the movement in and do something, a good, short little warm up and a good little Metcon if that's all you have time for. And then great if you have extra time. One thing that I do roll out a lot, because I do have a pretty serious past neck injury, and it makes it so that my T-spine, that's like the middle / upper part of my spine, gets really tight. I do have the like double lacrosse ball, and I have to roll that out almost nightly, but it takes like 5 minutes at the most. So yeah, that's what I do. Thoughts on taking a break from Metcons when you're dealing with something like adrenal fatigue or maybe just lack of motivation? That's real. I've never been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, but I know with the doctor that I work with through SteadyMD, we've talked about how all of those hormonal systems can really take a hit when you're super stressed out or you're a new mom or anything like that. And it can be hard to feel like you can push or that you even want to push. Lately, when we've been so busy with street parking, it's not that physically I don't feel like I can push some days, but like mentally and emotionally, I'm too exhausted to do it, if that makes sense. So the question was thoughts about taking a break from, I guess, probably high intensity is the real question during those times. And I don't think there's a problem with it at all. One of the suggestions that I've made a lot of times, both on my personal page and to street parking members, is, to do workouts that you like during those periods of time and maybe even turn the clock off. So adding an odd object in there. So instead of doing a workout that has power cleans with the barbell and pull-ups, and it's something where you almost know, like with a 95-pound power clean, I should be able to do these sets of 10 unbroken, and that puts a lot of pressure on you, and then you feel like crap when you can't make it happen, either mentally or physically, because you're so wrecked. Grab a sandbag and switch it up. You'll put a lot less pressure on yourself for that. Instead of doing kipping pull-ups, do strict pull-ups and work on your strict. It'll slow down the intensity a little bit, but you're still getting a great workout. Don't start the clock, or start the clock for your AMRAP, but don't count how many rounds, which is going to be really hard for most of us to not like at least mentally be doing that. But yeah, take some of the mental and emotional pressure out of performing well in the workout, where you're still moving, you're still going through the motions, but you can just kind of move and don't worry so much about the outcome, just that you're keeping your consistency. That's the main thing. Find something that makes you more excited or at least feel less pressure and go and do that. I got a lot of questions about training postpartum, like when should I bring back in pull-ups, double unders, box jumps, things like that, or how do I know how to train postpartum? Should I hire some sort of professional to help me? I would suggest getting at least a pelvic floor PT to give you a nice checkup like 6 weeks after to see how you're healing with all that stuff. There's definitely some differences with C-section and vaginal delivery. Sorry, this just turned really real fast. Yeah, there's no one right answer though. A lot of it depends on your history, how many kids you have, how your delivery was, what kind of delivery you had, all of that stuff. But no matter how it went for you, I do suggest doing some sort of pelvic floor strengthening PT, whatever you want to call it. And that's not just to improve your ab separation, so your abs look nicer and your belly looks nicer, but also for the insides to heal all that stuff. Because I had my pretty serious neck injury and because I tore my ACL, I knew to treat postpartum similar to how I treated recovering from those injuries. Just because you can't see it anymore, just because the baby's out or your stitches are healed or whatever, doesn't mean that all that stuff is just magically healed and you can go from not doing anything to loading up your barbell and just hitting it and going crazy. So take your time, take more time than you think you need. And if you have access to doing something like the Birth Fit program or the Brianna Battles program, or you can find a PT in your area that can help you with that stuff, definitely do it and do it forever. Postpartum's forever. I still do the Birth Fit stuff in my warm up, every day, to heal some of the issues that I had from just a regular pregnancy. I didn't have any complications or anything crazy like that, but, it's a lot. Your body goes through a lot, and sometimes we treat it like it's not that big of a deal, but it is. So, yeah, each journey is different, but definitely look into some of those options if that's something that, you're going through right now. Okay, so this question of what else do you do was asked by a member, and it was supposed to be a joke, but I do get that question so much. We get people who sign up for street parking and they'll be like, okay, but what do Miranda and Julian do? Like, we created this program because it's what we do, and it's still to this day what we do. Another question that was asked was what accessory workouts weekly, we have the power, Oli, suns out, guns out, butts and guts, endurance, and gymnastics. And people always want to know, well, which accessory workouts do you do? If I'm being honest, I love all of that stuff and I wish I could do all of it. I don't do any of it. Randomly, I'll do a butts and guts. I do want to do some of the new gymnastics stuff because it's no longer being programmed by me. It's by like a super legit gymnastics coach who knows a lot more about that stuff than I do, and I want to try it. I love the endurance workouts. I miss Oli lifting sometimes, but at this point in time, and pretty much almost the entire time I've had street parking, I've never regularly done any of the accessory workouts because I just haven't had time. With the new baby and the business and all of it, it's just been so crazy. All I do is the daily street parking workout, and I do rotate around between program A, B, and C, but that for the last 2 years, maybe even closer to 3 now, is all I do. Now, with that said, I do want to offer some advice that's a little bit more helpful for those of you guys that do want to add some of that stuff in. I encourage it if you've got more time than I do. How do you know what to add in? I would not suggest trying to add in all of that stuff. To be honest, it's just not necessary. Choose what excites you the most, or there's like that way to go about it, or choose what your biggest weakness is that you want to attack. So if any time a workout comes up that has pull-ups in it, for example, then maybe the gymnastics workouts or adding in some pull-up stuff is something that you might want to do. If any time a workout with a barbell, with a clean and jerk or a power snatch or something like that comes up, and you struggle with it, then maybe that's what you want to do. Or you can go the route of, well, actually, I crush Olympic lifting and I just love it, so I want to do more of it, so I'm going to add in the extra Olympic lifting workouts. Or I love running, so I'm going to add in extra running. So there's 2 ways to think about it. Also with your goals, if you're trying to gain muscle, then adding in some more of the like power or Oli type movements, even the suns out, guns out, or butts and guts, over adding in endurance and stuff like that. Keeping in mind that more is not always better. If you're not hitting the main workout of the day that you're trying to do, with intensity, and you're just kind of like jogging through both sessions now, or one big long session, you're going to get more out of going full throttle at one thing. But yeah, adding that stuff in is awesome. as long as you're putting into it what you can put into it, go for it. Pick 1 or 2 maybe kind of focuses at a time. Like, hey, all summer long I'm gonna do power and Oli. And if you're not a street parking member, it could be all summer long I'm gonna do this lifting program and do my workouts. And if the lifting program and getting stronger or whatever is the most important thing for you this summer, then put your emphasis on that. Put those workouts on the days when you know that you have the most time and the most energy, and then less focus on the stuff that's not as important to you but just helps you to maintain consistency. Too many people are trying to do too many things at once, especially people who it's not their full-time job to work out all the time. So pick 1 or 2 things, go hard at those, focus in and dial in on those, find consistency. And then if you're somebody who likes to change it up a few times a year to something else. So this kind of segues really good into this next question, is like, why is it that we are all so stuck on this more is better thing? And I think it comes down to a couple things, because I was really thinking about how to answer this question earlier today. Number 1, it's been beaten into us, move more, eat less, which is true to an extent. Move more is great advice to somebody who's not moving at all, or who is working out very little, or is putting very minimal effort into their workouts. It's not great or needed advice for someone who's already working out 4, 5, 6 days a week. So move more is more of a consistency thing than a move for more hours in the day. The other thing that I think that comes from is our lack of patience. In general, I mean, as is just a society in the world, things are so fast now, and we see these before and after pictures, and we, hear these claims of like, lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever. We're all very impatient, and so we want to control everything, and we think, well, if I can just do more, then I'll get the results faster. And that's not necessarily, and actually most oftentimes not true. And we end up either committing to a program that's unrealistic to us, or burning ourselves out, or injuring ourselves, or just being expecting the results to come fast, and then having them not come as fast as we wanted, and giving up way too soon. So I think that's where this idea of more is better. For me, I will say it over and over again. I will continue to say it until the day that I die if I need to. Consistency, and having your goal be finding consistency, not in the outcome. So your goal, instead of saying, I'm going to lose 20 pounds by August, your goal should be, I'm going to work out at least 4 days a week until August. And then just see what happens. You might lose 20 pounds. You might lose 30 pounds. You might lose only 10 pounds, but that 10 pounds is going to keep going down and going down. And then you can kind of reassess and see what you're doing. It's just the lack of patience. And this idea that's been beat into us that more is better. Do you do the same movements in every workout? Like, do you do squats every day? It might seem like that because I only post randomly the workouts. No, I do not do squats every day. The way that I program, it is full body a lot of times. So I come from, before I started doing like CrossFit style workouts, I did come from a like back and buys one day, chest and tris one day, legs or one day, cardio and abs, whatever. So if that's your style of fitness right now, when you look at my workouts, it's going to look like it's legs every single day. But then also, if you really look at it, it's like almost like upper body every single day. But we do definitely, we pay more attention to function of movement as opposed to body parts. So for example, squat uses your legs, so does your deadlift, but they use them in a different way. Even though it's similar muscles, they're being used for a different function. A pull-up is upper body, so is a push-up or an overhead press, but they have different functions or planes of movement at least. And so we do vary that all the time. So sometimes we'll squat 2 days in a row. It might be like a wall ball one day and then like a back squat the next day. But for the most part, we're switching up the functions and trying to balance out body parts by their function from day to day. But yeah, most of the workouts that we do, because we are trying to get the intensity high, so we're trying to, move our full body and use it the way it was designed to be used, which is as one full unit as opposed to isolating muscle groups. You're going to get a lot more out of that, especially if you're short on time. What do you recommend to increase muscle mass? 2 things. Your body needs to have a reason to increase muscle mass. So adding some strength training elements that signal to your body, hey, we're being asked to lift these heavy objects, so maybe having more muscle to help us do that would be good. So let's build some, and then giving your body the tools and the nutrition it needs and the rest that it needs to do that building. So you can lift all day long, but if you're not eating enough to build muscle and if you're not recovering enough, giving your body enough time to rebuild, then it's not going to happen. Or you can be drinking all the protein shakes and stuff and eating, enough carbs and enough excess calories to gain muscle. But if you're not signaling to your body that it needs to build muscle, all of that is going to be stored as fat. So those 2 things combined, and not just like overtraining, but giving yourself time to recover, is huge. Full body movements, deadlifts, power cleans, back squats, bench press, those movements have a much more higher hormonal response than like a leg extension and a leg curl as far as building muscle systemically, so your whole body. That other stuff can work, but again, if you're short on time or that sort of thing, you're going to get a lot more out of those bigger compound movements than trying to do a bunch of isolation stuff. Okay, this last one that I'll do is how to avoid or get over extreme soreness when you first start working out. I've been working out for like 20 years, pretty regularly, and sometimes I still get really sore. So obviously go into it knowing that that's going to be a thing. Don't think that just because you're sore, or don't think that because you're not getting as sore anymore that you're not going to see results. Soreness comes from your body adapting to something new. Or a lot of times you'll get really sore if you aren't moving at all. So if I do a workout with a bunch of reps of air squats or wall balls or something like that, and then I sit on an airplane for several hours, I'm going to be a lot more sore than if I went for a walk afterwards and in the morning did some stretching and things like that. So my biggest piece of advice for people who are starting out and you're getting really sore is don't try to do too much too soon, obviously. Baby step your way into it. Usually, unfortunately, when we're starting out is when we're the most motivated. So we have a tendency to really come out just hot and try to do multiple workouts and 7 days in a row, and we really wreck ourselves. So start slow. If you haven't worked out for a long time or ever, maybe starting with like 2 days of working out and then 1 day of rest, 2 days of working out, or even less than that is fine. Just slowly, getting into it. The other thing is when you're sore, the best way to decrease soreness is to move. I'm not talking about going out necessarily and doing another workout, but going for a walk, going for a swim, stretching, doing some yoga, getting some blood flow and just movement is going to make you way less sore. It's a little counterintuitive to some people, but it's definitely going to help. So give that a try. This will conclude my rest day rant and Q&A. I'll get this up as soon as I can. Tomorrow I will get up the next workout, and then the next day we're going to be doing a super legit team workout that we do every Friday. Is team workout day for the street parking staff, and it's my favorite day. If you can find a team member or a teammate, you're definitely going to want to do that, to do every once in a while these team workouts. Have a good day.